A very good evening to all of you. I hope I'm visible and audible to all of you. Hi, Mandeep. Hello, production engineer. Hi, Varun. A very good evening. And yes, Varun, I will be covering statement assumption, statement conclusion, strong weak arguments. Primarily, we'll be covering the entire verbal reasoning today. Okay. Hi, Mohit. Good evening. So, good evening, all of you who have just joined or are joining us. Hi, Disha. Good evening. Good evening. So, SNAP and IIFT related verbal reasoning, that's what we are going to do today. Okay. So, what all comes under verbal reasoning? First of all, we'll discuss that. How much of it comes in your exams? We'll talk about that. Then, of course, we'll look at them one by one and practice some questions on them. Right. So, that's going to be on the agenda today. Okay, perfect. Let's begin. Of course, you now already understand the why of this session, right? So we'll also look at some tricks through which we can solve these questions. More than tricks, I would like to call them the basic concepts, right? That actually help you in solving these questions. Okay, so if I talk about the logical reasoning section of SNAP, right? In that, verbal reasoning comprises 7 to 8. In fact, it was 10 questions in slot 3 last year, right? So on an average, you could say 8 to 9 questions from verbal reasoning in the SNAP LR section, right? That's a good number, isn't it? Then, if I look at the breakup of it, what kinds of questions were asked? So there was a wide variation among slots. In slot 1, 7 critical reasoning questions were asked, while in slot 3, just 1 was asked. Then if I talk about the other question types, statement, assumption, conclusion, okay, 2 questions on an average. Course of action, 2 questions. Verbal analogy, 1. Cause and effect, 2. So you see, there are a number of categories that they covered, a number of question types that they covered as part of verbal reasoning. We're going to look at all of them today. Okay, so let's see, right? Let's look at IFT also once before we jump to the questions. Okay, just a second. Good evening, good evening. All right. Scaling of score, will it be helpful next year? Varun, I didn't understand your question actually. Scaling this year, will it be helpful? Will depend on how your slot is perceived in terms of level of difficulty by the CAT authorities, right? So scaling will help you in that sense. Okay. Now, verbal reasoning, see, if you see the statement assumption, if you look at this category, while in SNAP you got 2 questions in slot 2 and 3 here. If I talk about IIFT, just 1 question came from statement assumption there. Still, we'll practice it, right? Because it might be asked in your subsequent attempts, let's say. In the other years, it may be asked. Okay. Now, what we'll cover in this session? So in this session, we'll attempt course of action, cause and effect, strong and weak arguments, statement assumption, critical reasoning, and analogy. Primarily, we are focused on SNAP and any verbal reasoning questions that may appear in IIFT. Okay? All right. Okay. Let's see if there are any other queries. Okay. All right. So course of action. See, you are, let's say, a manager, right? And you have to take some decisions. You're a decision maker. When you attempt a course of action question, you wear the hat of a decision maker. Sometimes if it's in the organizational context, then you act as a manager at times, right? You could be an HR manager. You could be a manager managing a team of 10 people, let's say. Okay. Or let's say if it's a social situation, then you could again be in a capacity where you have to make decisions. So, of course, what kind of decisions will you be expected to make? Of course, you can't make corrupt decisions, rash decisions. You have to make balanced decisions, right? You have to make such decisions that solve a given problem. Then they address the problem at hand and not solve some other related peripheral problems. That does not have to be the case. Your solution should be implementable. If it's not humanly possible, if it's not implementable, then how is it a good solution? Similarly, Nothing extreme is generally advocated, right? So, for instance, beating people, thrashing people, killing people, that's not acceptable as a decision. Okay. And whatever information is given to you in a course of action question, that is it. You do not have to make any assumptions on your own, right? So, this is an important thing to keep in mind because a lot of students assume things on their own and then solve the question, which leads to erroneous decisions. Even in life, that happens. And of course, you have to take into consideration ethicality when you take decisions, when you decide on a course of action. So, what will be the form of the question here? A problem will be given to you in course of action, right? Then some courses of action or some decisions will be given to you, right? Okay, can I take this course of action? You have to treat them independently and you have to decide which of them logically follows based on the problem that is given to you. Okay, you don't have to assume anything on your own. So what will happen in the following questions? There is a statement followed by two courses of action, numbered 1 and 2. Assuming everything in the statement to be true, that you have to assume that everything that is given to you is true. Which of the two courses of action is or are logical to follow? Remember, you do not have to compare them with each other and then see, okay, this is the better one, so this one follows, the other does not. You have to look at them independently. Okay, so these are your options. One follows, second follows, none or neither follows, and both follow, right? So let's have a look at a question. This is the statement given to you. These are the two courses of action. You have to quickly tell me which of them follows, or if both follow, then you know that D is going to be your answer choice. Yes. What do you say? Let's see. I don't think so, Mandeep, that these factors affect your percentile. Okay, don't even think about this. Varun has answered the fastest. He says B. What do the others say? Okay, a lot of you say B. Second follows. So a cakewalk, right? And trust me, this is the level of questions, course of action questions in SNAP. We have modeled these questions on the basis of your SNAP previous year questions. Okay, so this is certainly not a constructive course of action or an ethical course of action. And second, of course, we should always, investigate into the matter further whenever something bad happens. So, second definitely follows. B is the answer. This was a 20-second question, hardly a 20-second question. Yes, so these questions can be time savers and they can actually help you increase your score tremendously. Okay, so let's have a look at the second one. Let's see who answers the fastest. Hi, Madhuri. Okay. So, Zainul, that is your clue that you should actually work on acing grammar, right? So, you have time to brush up those grammar rules, right? To brush up those concepts. So, basically, control the controllables, isn't it? So, grammar is something that you can work on. Similarly, in vocabulary, contextual vocabulary is something that is relatively easier. Why? Because you have the help of the surrounding words. So, work on what you can. For synonyms and idioms, just solve the previous year questions and learn from them. Whatever pool you are able to accumulate, okay, accumulate that pool. And I always suggest you that if you can play vocabulary quizzes, nothing like it. That helps to increase your vocabulary. So do that and don't worry about the rest. Okay, so I'm getting a lot of C's here. None follows. Okay, then a D also, all follow, which is both follows. Okay. B, okay. 2 follows. 2, does it follow? The government should provide for the expenses of each person who has been jobless as a result of layoffs. Why? Why should the government provide for the expenses of each person? So this does not appear to be a practical solution, something that is implementable. Thousands of people in the age group of 25 to 30 years are jobless. So no. Second, definitely does not follow. Okay. One says the HRD ministry should conduct an inquiry to identify any foul play. Now, some of you are saying that even one does not follow. But here, this is why it is called verbal reasoning. The words matter, right? So, thousands of people, see, look at the extent. And these layoffs have been massive layoffs, right? And that too by leading companies. These are not some small companies. So the HRD ministry should conduct an inquiry to identify any foul play. This is not a bad course of action, something that does not logically follow. Why? Because suddenly see thousands of people are jobless. And these are massive layoffs by leading companies. So this one makes sense that the HRD ministry can actually conduct an inquiry into this. So A, one follows, but second one does not follow here. Right? So those who said A, good. Okay, A is the answer. Shweta said A, Gaurav said A, Divya said A, Khodidas said A, Tisha, KS. Good, good. Those who said A, you are correct. Okay, all right. Divya, absolutely. Because again, we try to make your snap mocks relatively tougher than the actual exam. So I believe that if you're getting a 12, 13 here, that's a really good score. Okay, all right. Parts of speech. Madhuri, parts of speech is not an area that we can cover in just one session. I can have a session with you where we can discuss some questions on them. Okay, but then I can't cover all the concepts in just one session. That's not possible, right? So I'll talk to my team and we can have a session where I cover some questions based on parts of speech with you. That's all that we can do in one session, right? Okay. Coming to the third one, course of action. Tell me, which one follows? Foul play is that if something fishy is involved, something let's say there some ulterior motives were present behind those layoffs. Thank you, Shweta. Thank you. Good evening, Amrit. Yes, correct, Gaurav. Okay, Madhuri Mohit says C. Mandeep also says C. I've got one A also. The 5 people who've joined via app, you guys also please respond. Okay. So it's primarily A versus C. A versus C, right? Okay, so Sinu reached 15 minutes late for the CAT exam due to the excessive traffic on the roads in Bangalore. Right. Common situation that Bangalore people can actually empathize with. Second, definitely does not follow. Yes, this is bribery. Now, he should be allowed to write the exam as he could not do anything about the traffic. As he could not do anything about the traffic. But he could have accommodated for the fact that Bangalore has a lot of traffic, Bangalore has excessive traffic, right? So we have to take steps to reach the center on time. You think about it logically. If you are late to the CAT center, will you be allowed to write the exam 15 minutes late? The exam starts for everybody at one point, right? At one point of time. So no matter what the reason is, except let's say if you cite medical emergencies, I think that was written in the admit card. If you cite those, then also yes, you can't rewrite it, no. And it starts at a particular point of time. So he should be allowed to write the exam as I have a problem with this, as he could not do anything about the traffic. No, he could have ensured that, okay, he reaches the exam center, let's say he takes an accommodation nearby, or he starts extremely early, considering that uh, he might encounter traffic, accommodating for that traffic. So one does not follow, none follows here, right? Or neither, in fact, neither is the more appropriate word when there are just two choices. So neither follows here. Okay, good. Those who've said C as your answer. All right. So these situations are situations that you may be encountering around you. I am not saying that you apply your external knowledge, you have to apply your logic only, right? But at the end of the day, pay attention to the words that have been used in the statement. Okay. Also, look at the fact that whatever reasons have been given for the course of action, here a course of action is suggested and a reason is given for it. Is it logical enough or not? Okay. All right then. So this was about course of action. We just practiced. Okay, Mandeep. All right. This is an assumption. Maybe Sinu is a girl. How do you know? Right? Uh, Cause and effect. Let's come to cause and effect. So the idea was to give you a basic idea of how to attempt course of action questions. Let's see how to attempt cause and effect now. Right. So first of all, in cause effect questions, you are generally given two statements, right? Because ultimately you have to establish which is the cause, which is the effect. So two statements are given to you. Read both of them, okay? Insert a therefore or a because, whatever works for you. So just add a therefore before each statement and see that if I add a therefore here, do 2 and 1 make sense? That okay, 2 is the cause and 1 is the effect, or vice versa, which way they make sense. And if they don't make sense in either scenario, that means they're not related. That is, they do not have a cause effect relationship. Okay. See if there is a logical cause and effect relationship between the two statements after inserting therefore. And lastly, you don't have to think about this that, this has to be the necessary cause, right? I'll give you an example. It's one of my favorite examples. So let's say I give you a statement. I give you two statements. First is that people in Delhi have started using bicycles or e-rickshaws for short distances, okay, for short distances. Now, statement 2 says, pollution in Delhi, pollution in various areas of Delhi has increased tremendously. Now, some of you might argue, first of all, add a therefore. Okay, add a therefore before both the statements and tell me which way they make sense. Hanji. Pratyaksh, we already have a couple of sessions, in fact, 3 to 4 sessions on syllogism on our YouTube channel. Just search syllogism BYJU'S Exam Prep MBA and you will find them. Okay, detailed sessions. Okay, so 2 is the cause and 1 is the effect, right? That's what you say. Absolutely correct. Now, when I do this question with students, at times they argue, but people could be doing this, let's say, because bicycles is written here. Yes, so there is a possibility that people are doing this for their health. Okay, people want to stay away, let's say, people want to actually drive a bike. Okay, they want to they want to ride a bike, and that's why they are doing this. But my point is, I understand, ठीक है, bicycles अगर लिखा है तो हो सकता है कि ये reason हो. It's possible that that is the reason. First of all, you have to pay attention to the e-rickshaws also. E-rickshaws is also there. Moreover, even if I accept your argument that that could also be a reason, my point is this a logically plausible relationship or not? That because of the pollution they are doing this. If it is, then you don't have to look for this that okay, बस यही एक reason होना चाहिए तभी हम accept करेंगे. No, there could be other causes behind it also, but is this logically plausible? If yes, then there is a cause-effect relationship, right? So it's sufficient for the effect to take place, and that should be enough for us, right? Okay, so short distance is mentioned. Correct, Varun. Short distance is mentioned. So people have, it's quite possible, no, that for health reasons also people are thinking, chalo, at least for short distances, we'll start, using a bicycle. So even that could be an argument. But my point is, health can also be a reason, pollution can also be a reason. Both are logically plausible reasons, so both are the possible causes, right? Okay. Now, yes, yes, absolutely, Varun. Independent causes you are saying. That's a very rare answer, actually. I'll just explain it to you. See, these are your directions. Usually, both two statements are given to you. Okay, there may be a cause-effect relationship between the two statements, or there may not be. Okay, maybe not, as I likhte, right? There may or may not be a relationship, cause-effect relationship. You have to read both the statements in each question and mark your answer as one is the cause, two is the effect. So basically various permutations and combinations. Now you are asking this. If both the statements are independent causes, this is rarely the answer. In 0.1% of the cases, this can be an answer, because such a question is very difficult to frame. Why? Because if I give you just two statements, let's say uh, the ball rolled onto the floor, okay, and he went to the market. Can you, just by looking at these, they are of course not related. Yes, we can sense that very easily. But by looking at this, can you judge whether it is a cause or an effect? Can you judge that? It could be either, isn't it? How can I judge that it is a cause and it led to something else? Right? So actually, when the statements are independent, no, it is difficult to judge whether a statement by itself is a cause or an effect. So what we do is we reject this option usually when they're not related and we think of them as independent effects. हम मान लेते हैं ये भी कि वो independent effects हैं. Otherwise, if you are given just one statement, you can't really judge whether it's a cause or an effect in itself. You need to have contextual information. What happened before? Okay, did something lead to the ball rolling? Or did the ball rolling lead to something else? We need to know that. So we usually reject this option when the statements are independent and we accept this option. Okay. To frame such questions where it looks like a cause, where the statement looks like in the nature of a cause is extremely difficult. Okay. All right. All right. So let's have a look at question 4. Meanwhile, I'll read some of your queries. This is useful for NMAT as well. Absolutely, because NMAT की logical reasoning section में भी ये सारे topics आते हैं. All these topics come in NMAT's logical reasoning section as well. Right? So look at question 4. Thank you, Mandeep. Thank you. Thank you, Madhuri. Okay. Varun says 2. Mansi 2. All right. So you say 1 is the effect and 2 is the cause. Is it? In 1, I am talking about something happening in the capital city. In 2, I am talking about the area surrounding the capital city. So, how is 2 leading to 1 in case you're saying that 2 is the cause? This is something that is expected to happen in the future, and this is something that is already happening. So, at the most, 1 can lead to 2. But even they don't seem related, that why, frequent power cuts in the capital city will lead to power cuts in the area surrounding the city also. So the answer should be 4. 4 is the answer here. There is no relationship here, no? Cause-effect relationship is not there. If there are frequent power cuts in the capital city, which is hampering the performance of students in exams, how will this lead to areas surrounding the capital city soon facing power cuts? We don't know if there is any such relationship between power cuts in the city and surrounding the city. And 2 cannot be a cause for 1, right? It's something that's expected to happen in the future. So, our answer is going to be 4 here, independent effects. So, read your questions very, very carefully. Pay attention to tenses also. Okay, let's have a look at this one. Question 5. हाँ जी, बताओ. No, no, Mohit. I said independent causes is very rare. I said independent causes is very rare. Independent effects is the answer when there is no cause effect relationship. जब cause effect relationship नहीं है तो बचा ही क्या फिर? Independent effects is the one that's left, right? 2, 4. All right. Okay, okay. 2 is the cause and 1 is the effect. Absolutely correct. So here there is a cause effect relationship. Because of the complaints, it makes sense, because this person is informing that this is happening, right? So it makes sense to deploy more security personnel in the society because wo bhi within the society rahi hai. Yes. So 2 is the answer here. Okay. Perfect. So cause effect questions are easy. Let's have a look at the sixth one. Okay. Let's see what you say. Madhuri says 1, Disha says 4. Okay. A lot of ones. Daniel says 4. All right. Good question. This one is a good question actually. So you're saying 1 is the cause and 2 is its effect. Okay. Um, those who watch a match, right? So winning the match, and here see first of all we're talking about an ODI, right? And this is the information based on just 20 overs that one team has played. Of course, the other team will also play. So bowling is also a factor that is going to matter. What happened in the other 30 overs, if it was a 50 over match, assuming it's an ODI, right? I hope my information is correct. So then those are also going to matter. So my point is it enough? Is it even sufficient? Is it even sufficient? I told you, no, if it is sufficient, then we accept it. Is one sufficient to lead to two? That's my question. Right. So I'm a very sports illiterate person. All right. So you can correct me if I ever go wrong. Particularly, I don't like watching cricket matches a lot. Yes. Uh, so the point is, this is not sufficient, okay? Information about just the batting of just 20 overs, no information about how the bowling was, how the rest of the 30 overs went. I cannot actually say that one led to two, okay? And that is why independent effects. Okay, it's a good question. It's not even sufficient. ठीक है? All right. So 4 is the answer here. So this was about cause effect. Interesting question, question 6. And now let's talk about strong or weak arguments. So arguments is something that you study in critical reasoning also. Yes, but this is different. Here I am not really let's say concluding something from an argument, or I'm thinking about what might have been the assumptions of the arguer. I'm not evaluating, I'm not analyzing arguments as such. I am just looking at the force of the arguments. Are they forceful or are they not forceful? That's what I'm doing. So usually a problem will be given to me, right? In the it could be in the form of a question also. Should smoking be banned in office spaces, let's say, right? Although in India, in public spaces, it is banned already, but hypothetically. So this is a problem that I present to you. Then there'll be two statements. One will say yes, and ideally it should give a reason why yes, and then usually the other one says no, and then gives a reason for why no. This is the usual scenario. Both yes arguments can also be there, both no arguments can also be there. So, what is it that you have to ask yourself when you are deciding whether it is a strong argument or a weak argument, right? You have to ask yourself, is it addressing the problem? जो ऊपर question है, should smoking be banned in office spaces? Is it addressing that? Is it answering that? Yes, why, no, why? Is it an important consideration? Right? It should not be something very trivial. Okay. So is it relevant? Is it important to the problem at hand? Is it logical or is it just based on a personal bias? So if I say yes, smoking should be banned in office spaces because the Bhagavad Gita says that smoking is a sin. So that's not a logical argument to make. That's a very moral argument to make. It's based on uh, a very personal opinion, so to say, right? And this is called argument by authority. That just because some book or someone of higher authority says that something is the case or something should happen, we also say that yes, yes, this should happen. Okay, so that's not a very logical argument to make. And you have to evaluate both the arguments independently. You basically have to check both the force of both the arguments independently. They're not dependent on each other. ठीक है? Okay. Just a second. Okay, I just saw some of your queries. Uh, Implicit, yes, Daniel, I'll explain that when we do statement assumptions, right? Uh, they scored this in, okay. So, Mandeep, again, they scored this much. Okay, they scored this much. Plus, they must have done some good bowling also. They won by 48 runs. My point is, it was not sufficient to lead to that conclusion. So, we basically have to assume that nothing significant, nothing else significant happened in the match. Then I'll be able to say this. So, the moment I have to assume this, no, that nothing significant, nothing else significant happened in the match, that is when it becomes erroneous. We don't have to assume things on our own, right? Personal opinions, yes. If you are not backing your arguments with logical reasons, rather you are giving your own opinions, which are not common opinions also, right? Which is not something that is logical in nature also. Then they make for weak arguments. Okay. So if I say, this is the right thing to do, that's why we must do it. I think that it is the right thing to do. No, that's my personal opinion. That does not make a strong argument, right? Hope this makes sense. So let's look at a question and this will become clear to you. चलो देखते हैं. ये हमारा instructions हैं. Two statements followed by two arguments. So they're asking you to evaluate two statements. All right. Followed by two arguments. Okay. 1 and 2, sorry. Read carefully and decide which one of the following arguments strongly supports the statement and then give your answer accordingly. So 1 is strong, 2 is strong, both, neither. These are your options. Okay, it's just one statement and the directions were erroneous. Should testing of cosmetics on animals be stopped? So this is the problem or the question given to you. Evaluate both of them independently. Look at them like this. Okay, is this strong or weak? Is this strong or weak? And then mark your answer. Gaurav, last year IIFT asked just one verbal reasoning question. Okay, so this is primarily based on SNAP. Also, in IIFT also, it's not like every question is difficult. You pick up IIFT verbal reasoning questions also, whatever has come, okay, and you'll realize एक तो बहुत limited questions आए हैं and whatever has come, it has not been very difficult. One, okay, all right. So a lot of you say one. I'm getting an overwhelming number of one. Okay. So one is definitely strong, right? It's an important concern if it is leading to disabilities in animals. It's an important concern. Also, it is addressing the problem very well. I am talking about testing on animals, so it is talking about that. So definitely a strong argument. No testing of cosmetics on animals is unacceptable. See again, personal opinion आ गया ना? I should give a reason. Okay, why is it unacceptable? Even if I feel that, okay, why is it unacceptable? That has not been told. ये तो बस हमने एक opinion दे दिया that this is right, this is wrong, this is acceptable, not acceptable, without any reason. Okay, so this is very vague, and that's why just one is strong. Whenever something leaves you thinking more in the sense that okay, something is missing, I have to assume something here, that's a weak argument. And whenever you find something very hard to refute, कि आपको उसको रिफ्यूट करने में दिक्कत हो रही है, राइट, दैट मीन्स इट्स अ स्ट्रॉन्ग आर्ग्यूमेंट. सो वन. ऑल राइट, कमिंग टू क्वेश्चन 8. यस. So these are all variations. They've been modeled on your previous year questions, right? SNAP previous year memory-based papers that are available to us. We've modeled these questions on them. 2, 4, all right. What else? Okay, so अगर यूके में नहीं होते, does that mean हम भी ना करें? Yes. This is called arguing by analogy. Arguing by analogy. It is not always a bad practice to argue by comparison or analogy, but then the comparison should happen between like things, similar things, right? So just because something is not happening in the UK and it is probably even proving good for them, does that mean that we should also blindly adopt that practice? No, our country's conditions might be very different. So never a strong argument. When we say वहाँ ऐसा होता है तो हम भी ऐसा कर लेते हैं, right? Never a strong argument. Second, yes, written exams burden the students. Now see, a very clear disadvantage I am presenting to you, that they burden the students unnecessarily, hampering their mental growth, something that's not at all desirable, and it's an important concern if this is happening, right? So yes, it makes a strong case for banning these exams for students till class 5. Okay, so second is strong, definitely. Okay, those who were saying 4, I hope this is clear to you. Second is strong. It's an important concern if this is happening. Students' mental growth is being hampered. Right? Okay. All right. So this was about, no, we have one more question. This is very easy actually. It's more or less a repetition of what we've already done. Yes, answer this quickly. Madhuri, just according to the question, okay, so these are logic-based questions, not knowledge-based questions. Okay. However, so basically, I am more bothered about whether it is addressing the problem or not, whether it is logical or not. That's what I mean to say that this is a logic-based question. However, if I state something that defies common knowledge, that can never be strong. If I state something like the sun rises in the west, that is defying common knowledge. No, right? So if I say yes, people should let's say we are talking about some argument related to where we should face or where we should sit, and I say that yes, we should face or this house should be faced in so and so direction to receive maximum sunlight because the sun rises in the west. If I say something like this, now this defies common knowledge, so it can never be strong. So unless and until something defies common knowledge, we are not really bothered about the truth or falsity of it. We are bothered about the logic of it, right? There was this question I remember, should condom vending machines be placed in various colleges of Delhi University? Okay, and one of the arguments said yes, because this is the only method to control population. Of course, this defies common knowledge, right? This is not the only method to control population. We know that. So, ये तो गलत है ही, and this can never be strong. This is a weak argument, right? So, I hope I'm making sense. So unless it defies common knowledge, we accept it to be true and we are concerned more with its logic. If it defies common knowledge, it can't be strong. Okay. All right. So Guru, I understand what you're saying that in the previous question, when I say yes, written exams burden the students unnecessarily, I'm talking in general terms rather than students till class 5. But if they burden the students generally also, then for class 5 students also it makes sense. When I say burden the students unnecessarily, hampering their mental growth, sorry, this is a general statement made for students. So, then also it makes sense to ban them for students till class 5 because those are anyway younger students. It's a younger age group. So, अगर ये generally भी true है, then also it makes sense to do this for students of class 5. Okay. However, had it been the opposite, let's say यहाँ पर students होता and यहाँ पर I said that okay, students till class 5, then it would be a weak argument. Then of course it does not make sense to ban them for all the students if it is affecting just a small group. Get it? All right. So yes, ninth. What do you say? Yes, do like the session if you are enjoying the session, if you find value in this. The idea is to expose you to various question types and make you understand the basic concept. Sometimes very seemingly easy questions make us miss out on some minor important things. Things that appear minor but are important. Thank you, Jasuman. Yes, please listen to Jasuman. Okay, one. Acha, this is done already. When was it done? One is strong, yes. Second, no computers are a thing of the past. See, the very same logic that we applied in the question that, okay, in the UK, they have been banned, so we should do it. Again, argument by analogy. This, yes, this makes sense. If they are required for almost any task to be done in government offices, that's a very strong case for people to acquire computer-based knowledge, right? Basic computer knowledge. So one is strong here, good. And this is about strong weak arguments. Let's do some vocabulary now. Analogy questions are a combination of vocabulary and logic. So here our focus today is more on the logical side of things. So basically whether you are able to form a connection between the two terms or not. Let's see. Very easy. Question 10. And this is a previous year question again. Matra, again, just type synonym, antonym, BYJU'S. We have conducted, again, there are a lot of sessions already available. And we will be coming with a vocabulary series this month. Okay, so there will be 4 to 5 sessions there, a vocabulary series. So yes, you can attend that also when it happens. That's okay, Divya. Now you followed it. Yes. So be regular, attend the sessions. All right. Cotton is to fabric. Just like table is a part of furniture, table is a kind of furniture, okay? Cotton is a kind of fabric. बाकी तो सब मोह माया है, यही आंसर है. ठीक है, very easy question. How about this? A sort of a general knowledge question also. Analogy means comparison, Aniket. Moreover, in comparison also, a comparison that is made to highlight the similarity between two things. Thank you, thank you. Hope they are helping you. A, C. Okay. All right. Devu, I'll have to check. But I just conducted right before CAT, 21st to 27th, may just check. I conducted a couple of vocabulary sessions, okay, where we covered approximately 50 or more vocabulary words. Also, again, I have conducted a lot of series on vocabulary, 50 must-know words. Such series are present on the channel, and we'll have them in December too. Okay. B, C. ठीक है. So B versus C it is in the chat box. That's what I see. Colt. Isn't colt related to horses? Even if you don't know the exact meaning, I've always heard it in the context of horses, not in the context of elephants. Elephant's young one is called a calf. Okay. Colt is the young one of a horse. But isn't the young one of a horse a foal? So foal bhi hai, colt bhi hai, is that possible? Yes. So, Satyam, why do you think that? What do you think should come here, okay, instead of a calf? So baby elephant is called a calf, right? वो अप्पू तो हम प्यार से बोल देते हैं, right? Otherwise the name is the formal term is a calf only. Yes, it's the young one of a cow as well. The young one of a cow as well is called a calf, right? So it's not that the a name for the young one of one animal. Sometimes it is common to other animals also. It is shared by other animals also, right? So don't think that अगर cow का है तो elephant का नहीं हो सकता. So a colt is a male. Yes, colt is a male, but a baby male horse. Okay, a baby male horse. Why am I saying baby? Because those horses that are younger than 4 years and are male are called colt. Foal is a general term for the young one of a horse. Foal थोड़ा general term है, ठीक है. Colt is a baby male horse less than 4 years and the female counterpart, a female baby horse or a baby female horse, whichever way you want to write it, less than 4 years. Okay, that is a filly. Lamb, everybody knows, young one of a sheep. Yes, young one of a sheep. Okay. All right then. So I hope this is clear. The answer is B here. This was a GK based question. And sometimes, yes, you do get such questions in your analogy. Now, this is a vocabulary based question here. You need to know the meanings of various words. Yes, fawn is the young one of a deer. Yes, kid is a baby goat. Yes, yes. Ponies are these horses who are not very tall, so to say, right? They are sometimes fully grown horses, but वो tall नहीं होते हैं. Okay, so that's why I didn't say that the young one of a horse is called a pony. Young one नहीं होता है वो. It's a sort of a kind of a horse. Okay, A, C, B. Oh my God. A, C, B. All right. What else? Mare is in general a female horse. Okay, so foal is the young one. Okay, horse is the female counterpart. Horse is the female counterpart. So normally हम ये terms use करते हैं for female mare, for young one foal. ये specific age के young ones थे, colt and filly. Okay, और pony एक type का ही horse होता है. Hope this is clear. Okay, A, B, C, D, all right. So let's have a look. Gravity is to seriousness. Synonyms. Okay. Yes, you don't understand the gravity of the situation. Please be sincere in your preparation. So gravity is the, again, the seriousness of the situation. That's how I can put it. Levity, yes. If I say that the party had an atmosphere of levity, that means light-heartedness. Everyone was enjoying. Right? Levity. Levitation का मतलब होता है ना to rise. You become so light that you rise. So this is again related to light-heartedness. So synonyms. मिल गया answer. A is the answer here. Impunities to punishment, opposites. Depravities to righteousness, opposites. Ingenuities to innocence, again, antonymous only in nature. Okay. How? Impunity. If I say that would have left it, okay. थैंक यू थैंक यू. इम्प्यूनिटी मतलब पनिशमेंट से इम्यूनिटी. ठीक है, यू कैन लर्न इट लाइक दिस. इसमें पी है ना, पी ऐड कर दिया पनिशमेंट के लिए. सो बेसिकली एग्जेम्पशन फ्रॉम पनिशमेंट इज इम्प्यूनिटी. इफ आई से ही कमिट्स क्राइम्स विद इम्प्यूनिटी, meaning as if he knows that okay he'll not be punished for them. So opposite. Innocence, ingenuity, ingenious. We did this word in one of our vocabulary sessions if you remember. स्पेलिंग इसका ही होता है OUS. ओके, जीनियस से मत, एज इन मीनिंग जीनियस है बट स्पेलिंग इज डिफरेंट. ओके, ingenious. So something that's very clever or someone who's very clever, something very original, that is ingenious. So ingenuity is related to being clever while innocence you understand. So again antonymous only. Depraved, a depraved act. Okay, a depraved act is a corrupt act, a morally corrupt act, whereas a righteous act is a morally good act. So opposites, and that's why A. Yes, yes, yes. Dua Lipa's levitating song. Yes, yes, yes. Absolutely, you can connect it with this. So students only told me about this song, right? And then I listened to it. You can connect it with that. A is the answer. Now let's come to our next stage, so to say. We are going to talk about statement assumption, statement conclusion, and then we are going to do a couple of questions from critical reasoning, mostly inference based questions, conclusion based questions. Okay, that's because again in SNAP, when you get critical reasoning questions, they haven't been in the past, they haven't been very tricky, so to say. Okay, and again I have conducted a number of critical reasoning sessions separately also. So again, if you search critical reasoning BYJU'S MBA, you will get a lot of sessions there, right? So let's look at these two question types, statement assumption, statement conclusion. So basically, this is also critical reasoning only, but in a more basic form. Here, instead of full-fledged arguments, you just have one or two statements. And of course, it will help you in CR because it's CR in the basic form. So let's have a look at statement assumption. So you tell me, what are assumptions? Hanji. Okay. I hope now the discussion about the song is over and we can focus on assumptions. Assumption, a very peculiar feature, a unique feature of assumptions are that they are not explicitly stated. Okay. So if something is not explicitly mentioned in a statement, okay, something is not explicitly mentioned in a statement, but it is something that is necessary for the statement to be true, we say that it is implicit in the statement. Someone asked this a while back, what does it mean to be implicit? If something is not explicitly stated but is not is definitely necessary for the statement to hold true, that's when we say that okay, this is implicit in the statement. So this is what assumptions are. Things that are not explicitly stated but are necessary for the statement to hold true, right? So for instance, if I say I drank water from this glass, I drank water from this glass, so of course this glass can hold water. That is a basic assumption there. If I say I drank water from this glass can hold water. It's not explicitly stated here, but it's necessary for my statement to be true. These are assumptions. So now let's solve a couple of questions on this. Sometimes your instructions also explain what assumptions are. In the following question, a statement followed by some assumptions is given. An assumption is something supposed or taken for granted. Basically, it's not explicitly stated because it's taken for granted. कि समझ जाएगा reader भी, right? And it's something that the speaker necessarily believes in. Otherwise, the statement can't hold. You have to consider the statement and decide which of the assumptions is implicit in the statement. So here is your statement, here is your assumption. Correct, correct, Mandeep. Good, good, good. Oh, Okay, Ankit. Negation technique. Absolutely, Sham. So through this question, I'm going to teach you the negation technique. Don't worry. B, C, all right, all right. Can you give me an example, Risha? If let's say you are asking about this, we want Dash to be the leader. Of course, you'll have to write him to be the leader. You can't say we want his to be the leader, right? B, C, D. Okay. So look here. Be humble even after gaining victory, right? So why would you use this word even after gaining victory if in case many people are humble after gaining victory? In case many people are humble after gaining victory, would you make this statement that be humble even after gaining victory? What is implicit in this statement is that sometimes people are not humble after gaining victory. That is why you are making this statement be humble even after gaining victory. So this is something that is not implicit. Okay, now let's look at the second one. Generally, people are not humble. Generally, am I talking about a general scenario here, or I am talking about a scenario after gaining victory? Generally, I cannot say that this person has assumed this, that generally people are not humble. This person has simply assumed that sometimes people are not humble after gaining victory. This is the assumption here. I hope I'm not. Let me just write it here. The assumption is sometimes people are sometimes not humble after gaining victory. People are not humble after gaining victory. All right. That is the only assumption that is there here, and not this that generally people are not humble. General scenario की तो बात ही नहीं हुई ना statement में. So how can I say that the author assumed something about the general scenario? No. Okay. So that's why neither is the answer here. See, neither assumption is implicit. Okay. I hope this makes sense to you. Neither is implicit. Okay. Now, somebody was asking about the negation technique. So, what is the negation technique? See, because assumptions are necessary for the statement to hold true, that means अगर मैं assumption का opposite बोलूं, किसी implicit assumption का opposite बोलूं, then the statement can't hold true. So, if I say this, that people are always humble after gaining victory. If I say this, people are always humble after gaining victory, then is there a need for this statement? There is no need for statement. This statement. That means अगर मैंने बोला sometimes people are not humble after gaining victory, ये assumption हमें दी हुई है, आप इसको negate कैसे करोगे? How will you negate this? You will state the opposite of it. The opposite of it will be people are always humble after gaining victory. But if that is the scenario, then there is no need for this statement. That means yes, this is an essential assumption. अगर assumption को negate करने के बाद statement collapse हो जाए, that means वो essential है. That means वो implicit assumption है. Okay, so if after negating the assumption the statement collapses, that means yes, it is implicit. Hope this makes sense. Okay. Gaurav, this is not implicit. Nothing has been told to us about how they are before gaining victory. So this is not implicit. Okay, neither is the answer here. Okay, how about the 14th one? It is he speaking. Rishabh, it is he speaking. Uh, because here you are talking about yourself that okay, I am the one who is speaking. So with the to be verb, we'll use the subject pronoun. Okay. Okay. One, C. All right. Implicit is not true or false, Adarsh. Possessive won't come here. I'll explain this, Rishabh. Possessive does not fit here because you need a subject in this sentence. It to subject nahi hai na. The sentence needs a subject and he is the subject. Okay. A3, all right. 1 versus 3. Okay, let's have a look. Neither or the first one. We will not tolerate indiscipline in the armed forces. If you are saying that you will not tolerate something, okay, this could be anything. We will not tolerate it. That means this thing has to exist in the first place, right? That is why you're talking about tolerating it or not tolerating it. If it does not even exist in the first place, if I say indiscipline does not exist, let's again negate it. Indiscipline does not exist in the armed forces. Is there a need to make this statement? अगर indiscipline है ही नहीं armed forces में, there is no need to make this statement. We will not tolerate indiscipline in the armed forces. Right? So the statement collapses when I negate this. One is implicit. So whenever I say I will bear something, not bear something, okay, or let's say basically whenever I talk about an action related to something, okay, I am generalizing this. Whenever I talk about an action related to a particular thing, that means that thing exists in the first place. That is why we are talking about an action towards that thing, right? So one is implicit here. One is implicit. Empty threats is when, let's say, you won't follow up on it. When really you'll not take any action if indiscipline happens. Right? That is an empty threat. Khali dhamki. Okay. Okay. I'll take, I think, 10 more minutes of yours and then we'll wind up, right? I hope this is clear to you. A answer hai isme. One is implicit and this is a good question. For future also, remember this. Okay. All right. Let's talk about statement conclusion now. Khokli dhamki. Yes, yes. Correct, correct. Satyam, is this clear? So, statement conclusion. I think you have done enough RC questions to actually understand this correctly. A conclusion is something that is true on the basis of the given statement or in case there are multiple statements. So, something that you can say, okay, yes, this is true on the basis of the given statements. Okay, that is a correct conclusion. And you also know how to eliminate. Anything that is too broad according to the statement cannot be concluded. Anything that is too extreme cannot be concluded, right? Anything that is not at all given in the statement cannot be concluded. So those basic checks that you apply them here also. This is an easier question type, in fact, even when I compare it to statement assumptions. So let's see. Question 15. What do you say? How to find assumptions and conclusion? Himanshu, through the check that I told you, assumptions, basically see, if you want to learn the difference between assumptions and conclusion, no. So it's like this. Assumptions go one step back from the statement and you get an assumption. Go one step forward and you get a conclusion. What do I mean by this? Assumptions exist in the mind of the speaker. तो speaker पहले कुछ सोचता है और फिर statement बोलता है. When he or she speaks the statement or states the statement, there are certain things that he or she has definitely thought of, which are necessary for the statement to be true, but he or she does not directly state them here. They are suggested within the statement, they are implicit in the statement, but they are not spoken outrightly. Those are the assumptions. So assumptions, you step back into the mind of the speaker, the arguer. Conclusion, you derive as a reader based on the statement. So it's a step forward. Right? Daniel, I hope it is clearer now. So C, D, that's what I've been getting. Either one or two. Acha, is this an either or scenario? that either of them, one of them has to be necessarily true. Is this such a scenario? Either or means that if second is not true, one definitely has to be true. And if one is not true, two definitely has to be true. That's an either or scenario. ये either or तो नहीं लग रहा मुझे. Neither actually, neither follows. It's 80% of the team consists of spinners. How can you be sure about this? Uh, then the opening batters were spinners. Again, I can't be sure about this. So I don't know the composition of the team. I don't know about the order in which they appear when appear to bat. So I can't say any of these. Neither. 4 is the answer. Okay. All right, all right. Yes, sometimes conclusion is some words that indicate that it's a conclusion are thus, therefore, hence, but it's not a guarantee कि ये correct conclusion है. ठीक है? Just because ये words हैं यहाँ पे. How many critical reasoning questions? See, you saw that last year there was a wide variation. In slot 1 they gave 7, in slot 3 it was 1. However, these questions were not tricky. Okay, so in slot 1 also, even though 7 of them came, they were not very tricky. Okay. 16th. Yes. Conclusion. What do you say? Just two more questions to go. So I want your enthusiastic response. Dikshant says D. So what do you guys suggest to Akash for LR? A. All right. See, ideal division is 1 minute per question, yes. So it entirely depends on how you divide your time. So if you feel that, okay, quant takes me less time, you can devote more time to LRDI. And usually this is the case. Students take less time in quant and more in LRDI, right? So accordingly, you decide the division. That's the beauty of SNAP or those exams that don't have sectional time limits, right? A, D, B, okay. All right, all right. So isn't this something that can be concluded? In the morning itself, we did one question from ZAT, right? It was a similar question actually, although of course the topic that it talked about was different, about geology. So here I am giving the fact that gun sales have risen sharply during the pandemic. Similarly, murder rate has also soared during the pandemic. So there is a correlation there. I'm not saying that one has caused the other. I'm not saying that gun sales have caused those murders. Causation nahi bol rahi hu main. I'm just saying correlation. Yes, this can be inferred. This can be concluded. I can see that both are rising. So they are correlated. Okay. Moreover, it's guns. They are related to murders. So correlation exists. We can't deny that. Government is under the control. This is alien. Okay. We don't know that. One follows. A is the answer. Okay. I hope this makes sense. Hanji. Good. Those who said it. Okay. Now let's go to our next question. Yeah. So this was about statement conclusion. Now let's do a couple of full-fledged critical reasoning questions. So here instead of one statement, you have, let's say, 3 statements given to you. Yes, 1, 2, 3. So this becomes an argument. It's actually a set of premises, to be more precise. A set of premises are given to you. You have to conclude something from the premises that are given to you, from the statements that are given to you. So what can you conclude? Tell me. Fastest fingers first. A very easy question. Yes, Dikshant, it has to be a short thing. So short correlation tha पिछले वाले में. There was a short conclusion there. Correlation existed for both the variables during pandemic. Para summary, no, I haven't seen para summary questions. Okay. Uh, Again, however, never say never, right? In CAT also we had a new question type this time. So never say never. Usually I haven't seen para summary questions. A, C, all right. So Charu has answered the fastest and she says A. All right. Okay, let's have a look whether it is A or it is C. All graduates must be made to take up bridge in courses to fill their knowledge gap in technology. Isn't this more in the nature of a course of action? Isn't this more in the nature of a course of action? And why, first of all, why just graduates, right? We are talking about youngsters in general. Okay. Acha, nahi, sorry. We are talking about graduates. My bad. It has found that fresh graduates between 20 to 24 are largely technologically illiterate than those slightly older. So, uh, generally, we are talking about a general trend here. Okay. That so all graduates, first of all, I have a problem with all. Second, their gap in technology must be, why should it be made mandatory? The thing is, if they want to get well-paying jobs, they should go for it. If they don't, then it doesn't have to be made mandatory. So C is something that's more prescriptive in nature, more extreme in nature, and more in the nature of a course of action. What I can conclude from this information is that if they want well-paying jobs, want well-paying jobs, then yes, they will have to learn about technology more than just games. Okay, so this is something that collectively from this information I can conclude. ठीक है? I hope this makes sense to you. Very easy question. A is the answer. So these are sitters, such questions. Okay, last question for the day. Let's see who answers the fastest. Okay. Yes, Suraj. So, conclusion, ideally speaking, a logical conclusion should take into account all the premises. Okay, although we eliminate and arrive at the answer, ideally a logical conclusion takes all the premises into consideration. Okay, last question, last question. Let's see what you say. Right. Multiple factors. So I think I'm hiding the word factors. It is multiple factors. Okay. All right. All right. A, D. A versus D. And a couple of you are saying B. Okay. I've got a C also. Right. That's interesting. Let's have a look. Generally, people return. Can I conclude this from the given information that generally people return incumbent chief ministers to power? What has been given to me? It found that an increase in disposable income increases the share of votes for an incumbent. That's all that it found. Okay. The connection between voting patterns and disposable income. We don't know what happens generally. Alien, additional information going beyond the scope of my information given to me in the statements. They should feel again, ये तो अब ये वही moral advice आ गई. This is a moral advice. You know, this is right, this should happen, this is the right thing to do. On what basis? It has to be true on the basis of the text. The text does not go into any such moralizing. C versus D. Chief Minister should work hard for their entire state, not just their constituencies. Again, this topic has not been discussed in the text, in the given statements. It's only D that works. The results of state elections depend on multiple factors apart from ideological factors. So, ideology is what you believe in, right? And here we are saying that disposable income is not ideology, right? It's not about your beliefs. So, disposable income becomes that other factor that people believe in apart from ideological factors. So when I compare these options, this is the only one that can be concluded from the given information, right? So D is the answer. Multiple factors. Multiple factors. Business maestro. B is a suggestion. Yes, B is the more of a moral advice. Okay. I hope this makes sense to everyone out here. And now I can sit comfortably again. D, Delhi is the answer. Okay. So these were, yes, yes, ideology here means the ideologies of the parties, and the people supporting those parties share that ideology, right? The principles, the beliefs that a party is based on. Okay. So please practice a lot of VL questions. I think that's the only way to get better at these, because the more situations, the more scenarios you are exposed to, the better you become at, let's say, making decisions, taking courses of action, seeing what exactly was the assumption of the speaker or the arguer. And please keep in mind the basic concepts, particularly for questions such as strong, weak arguments. Just remember the basics. Don't overanalyze, overthink. Don't argue with the argument a lot in strong, weak arguments. So if you do these two things, then VL is not a very tough area as such, right? So I hope this makes sense to you. Uh, Parts of speech like matching questions. Okay, noted, Madhuri. So whenever we have a session on Snap next, I'll bring more such questions. Okay. All right. Welcome, welcome all of you. I hope you enjoyed the session. And in case any of your friends are preparing for CAT 23, do recommend this course to them. Very comprehensive with a lot of features. And yes, upcoming sessions. Tomorrow again, I'll meet you with grammar. So I'll bring such match the following questions that you were talking about. And on 8th, we have Gaurav sir with number system. On 9th, we have Naveen sir with understanding the logic behind LR part 2. Right? Quite a lengthy name. So 10th December, do join us at 6 p.m. We'll come live with an analysis of SNAP 22. First impression will happen, of course, just straight after the exam. The analysis will happen at 6 p.m. Okay? So do join us at 6 on December 10. And we can stay connected via various platforms. This is our Telegram channel, so you can stay connected via this also. I hope all of you have already subscribed to the channel. I don't need to tell you that, right? Thank you for attending and welcome all of you. Okay. All right. All right. What should be the percentage of inference-based questions in IIFT? Satyansh, if you're talking about RC passages, they're more of direct questions we expect in RC passages. So if 4 RCs with 4 questions each come, if this is the division, then we expect at least 2 questions from each RCs to be direct. So 2 to 3 questions usually direct होते हैं IIFT में per passage out of 4 questions. Okay. Hope this helps. Great, great, great. Welcome, welcome all of you. Welcome all of you. Okay, Jagannath, noted, noted. Welcome. Snap mocks are available. Acha, you're saying only Snap. I don't think that is there. You have to buy the mock series. Okay. All right. Bye-bye. Have a great evening. Bye. Bye, all of you. See you tomorrow at 7 again. Bye.